Hello there, EnderSword again with another bronze replay this time, sent to us by TheDragon, our Protoss player. It's him against the Terran BlackPudding over here in the bottom left corner. And we're going to be focusing, of course, on the Protoss player today, our submitter of this replay. Any of those of you out there that want to submit a replay, I will post the email address in the comments of this video. I'm certainly looking for those often. So the key points today that we're looking at for TheDragon is scouting. So how to get the maximum information out of your scouting, since he does bother to do it, but is not quite extracting the most out of it. We're looking at either expanding or teching behind an attack, doing something to progress yourself when your opponent is giving you the opportunity to do so. And we're going to be looking at a few of the very key micro things. Not very complex, but just pretty key micro things that you want to be looking at when you're launching or defending an attack. Just how to set your army up and the initial actions that you're going to make. We do see a pretty normal formation to begin with here. Probes are being produced. Pylon goes down. Gateway goes down at 13. This is pretty normal. Scout comes out. It's good to note as the scout comes out here, if you're going this close to a watchtower, you might as well take a poke at it. You may then see the opponent scout coming the other way, so it would just instantly tell you where they are. Now the scout does come in. We'll just switch to the Dragon's view for a second. Sees a gas, sees a barracks, sees a supply depot. Sees pretty normal stuff, but then immediately just skedaddles out of the base. He does seem to have these queued up, this probe queued up, so that he went to one base, then the other, and then the other. That's a pretty common thing to see people do. I do that myself. However, once you've identified that this is the correct base, break that. Stop queuing that up. You have to realize that, hey, my probe should stay there for a bit. So that instead of seeing this, you don't want to be actually chased out until a Marine is either about to come out or does come out and forces you out of that base. So instead of seeing just a gas, just a barracks, and normal stuff, if you were to actually keep that probe there longer, you'd see a tech lab, you'd see 3 barracks going down. Let's just see what we can find out before an actual Marine comes up. A second tech lab coming down. We see that there's still no other gas coming down. We see that there's no orbital commands coming out of here. If we wanted to, would look around and see, well, you must be supply blocked completely because there's only one supply depot coming down. So we would know that there's no early aggression coming out of this at all. And it's not until this Marauder is out that we would actually have to leave the base or be killed as our scout, and we would see all this information that the Dragon is just completely in the dark on, and that is very, very valuable because it tells you, well, there's no factory, there's no second gas, there's no nothing, so I know I don't have to be worried about Banshees with Cloak. I know I don't have to be worried about very early siege tanks. I know you're not going to rush to battle cruisers or something ridiculous. So you know a lot more by seeing that. So try not to pull out so early. Get as much scouting information as you can before deciding on this, which is the tech path that you ultimately go towards. We do see 2 gateways going down in addition to a robo. So 3-gate robo play. Pretty good. I wouldn't say completely standard, but obviously a valid option. Particularly in this matchup, that's fine. The robotics facility does end up working out pretty well, but again, it would have been nice to know from the scouting information, hey, there's nothing but Marauders. Immortals are going to be great right now, versus if there were a bunch of Marines streaming out there, all of a sudden this tech path isn't quite as good as it was, or at least is more delayed when you get the Colossus out. So it is important to know what you're facing, and you can gain that through that scouting information. There's a few areas in this game where the Nexus does go silent for periods of time. You would like to see the constant probe production come out of here, but more importantly right now is when you add a bunch of new facilities, so 2 more gateways and another robo, very quickly you get into a supply block situation. It feels like you're puttering along with just one pylon at a time, but once you start to add these, you get supply block quickly, and these 3 gateways are just sitting there not building anything. The Nexus is sitting there not building anything. You're going to be going through supply a lot quicker, so just be aware of it, and it's something that you want to be focused on, stay ahead of. Now we do see the attack coming up here. The Protoss can deal with that. He moved commands down onto the ramp, gets his Guardian Shield up, which is good, and then engages this army somewhat sloppily. What we would have liked to have seen in this, and I'll just reset it to the start of that engagement again, is if you're a Protoss player that knows that you can handle the force that's actually coming up, and in this case you probably should be able to, you want to actually pull back as opposed to engaging them right at the ramp. There's no reason to run into the same choke that they are in. The disadvantage of someone coming up your ramp is that they have to go through a choke. If you then meet them at that choke, it's not as good because you want to have a concave up here to kind of surround their army, and you want a force field going down that actually blocks them off. If an appropriate force field was placed on the initial attack, you would pull back to about here, allow most of the army up, and then place the force field here on the ramp. It would have been a complete annihilation of that army. There would have been no way for the bottom to reinforce. You would have trapped about 6 or 7 units on top. The Zealots would have charged in, completely destroyed those Marauders. Zealots just do great against Marauders in close quarters, and the army would have had a great arc around everything. It would have been completely decimating. Now, the Protoss army obviously did win that engagement to begin with, but it could have been a lot better. Instead of this many forces coming home, you could have had about the first 4 of these coming home and the rest of it completely destroyed on your own ramp. So instead of just rushing to engage, sometimes it's better to just pull back. Again, we do see Protoss supply block going on. 3 gateways again, just now being used as that pylon comes out, but they were just sitting idle. We get a push out here, and this is an area when you've just stopped a Terran attack. That was clearly his timing that he was trying to go towards. With this much money, you want to then expand behind it. You're moving out, so get out of one base. You have to always be thinking about the expansions that you're going to take, how you're going to progress, either on tech or in expanding out. You've got 600 minerals left, so you're down to approximately 1/3, just a bit over 1/3 of what you started with. You're only going to last another 4 or 5 minutes on one base, so you do want to be expanding out. Usually you tend to do that 7-8 minutes against Terran at this level, but definitely expand behind these attacks. Again, as you attack up, make sure that you clear that choke. Instead of attack moving up where you're going to be stuck in this bunker, do as he did in the second moment there and actually just move your army up. Just clear that ramp and then start this engagement. Again, I'll rewind that in a moment here. We see obviously he breaks through. But just in terms of initial formation before this attack, his Zealots are in the back. His Stalkers are leading the charge. Since he stopped here anyway to reassemble his forces, put your Zealots up front. Make sure that they're the ones that actually have to engage and get in the face of these Marauders. Marauders do great against Stalkers. So you want those Zealots out there right in front, eating that fire, and really allowing your army to do the damage that it can. The Dragon had just an overwhelming force in this game. He did a lot better than BlackPudding did. He was pretty much going to win it regardless, but there are a lot of things that you can still improve on in a game like this. BlackPudding actually accusing the Dragon of cheating, I guess for unpausing the game, but again, it doesn't seem to matter. There wasn't a period that BlackPudding just wasn't doing anything, so he was fine regardless. And really, the Dragon was ahead the entire way. However, he could have gained a lot more information, as we said, by scouting. He had the initial scout in that could have seen these extra facilities go down. He could have seen exactly what BlackPudding was planning. When he placed the observer in BlackPudding's base, he never at any point checked what was behind here. He never actually looked around. If we just pause at, see, where does he come out? To about the 7:30 mark, he's actually out there. And we can see that he never actually looks around the base at any point. The observer coming up here, he just kind of parks there, looking at whether or not he's expanded anywhere, but never at any point decides to take a look around. Doesn't even know if this second gas is there. Doesn't even at this point know about the third barracks. Sees a factory there, but doesn't know the tech path of his opponent. Doesn't know if there's anything to be concerned about until he actually goes in for that attack. So we do want to avoid that. Scout a lot more proactively and be aware of what's happening so that you really know what you're attacking up into. Expanding, obviously, I said before that behind any of those big pushes, whenever you've held off a large attack or whenever you're about to make a large attack, it's a great time to be expanding, looking to other bases. You should always be doing something behind it, whether it's expanding or whether it's teching up. Always make sure that you're not just stagnant in what you're doing. If you have built 3 gateways in a robo at the 5-minute mark, then at the 11-minute mark you have 3 gateways in a robo. That's not good. You're not progressing. Some of your income should go towards progressing, either to another base, Colossus, a robotics facility, I guess, or a robotics bay, to make sure that you can get to Colossus, put down a Stargate, put down Templar Tech, something like that to make sure that you're actually getting things out. Chrono Boost is something I haven't really addressed much yet, but a lot of this game, early on he was pretty good, but for most of the game, the Chrono Boost was actually sitting there at max. You can use Chrono Boost on your gateways, so you can produce units faster. A lot of people do use them on, say, the robotics facility or Warp Gate Tech or something like that, but you can use it on your gateways to actually speed up the cooldown, and not everybody is aware of that, so just be aware of that. And the last point is, of course, micro, as I mentioned. When you've got an army attacking up your ramp, determine what you want to do. Sometimes pull back and then force field. Try and force field near the top as opposed to the bottom when you want to trap the army in, because the lower ground army won't be able to get vision up, and you won't have to enter the choke after them. If you force field near the bottom, initially when there's a large force there, then the zealots will have to go down the ramp to actually get at them, and the entire army at the bottom will be able to attack those. Whereas if you isolate near the top and then pull back, then that army has to decide, well, do I chase them out here, in which case my support down here won't be able to help me at all, or do I just sit there waiting and get picked off by the stalker ring all around me? So it has to choose one or the other. And you, of course, just want to trap as much as you safely can in that base. And, of course, during this final example, final engagement, get your zealots up front. If you're charging into a force that you need those zealots there, don't do this where your zealots are trapped behind everything, because they have to charge up front and get in front of everything before they actually become useful. See that engagement again. I played through it too quick. See that engagement again. So the zealots are trapped behind. Leave it slowed down a bit. They have to actually walk all the way around their own forces before they become useful. And in the meantime, they're just picking off the stalkers in front. Again, overwhelming force here, but against a slightly better opponent, that may actually make a difference in some of your games. So that's all for now. I'm going to be uploading a second viewer submitted one, another Bronze League game, I believe. And thanks for watching. Any feedback is appreciated.